We are in September, final month of the baseball season. We will be talking about everything fantasy baseball related coming up next on the RotoWire Fantasy Baseball Podcast. Happy Sunday evening, everybody. Welcome to the RotoWire Fantasy Baseball Podcast. I am Scott Jenstad, joined as always on Sunday nights by Jeff Erickson. If you could please rate and review the podcast, we would greatly appreciate that. We want to thank DraftKings Pick 6 for the sponsorship of the podcast, sponsored the podcast all season long. We really appreciate that. Jeff, it's September. We're officially in the, I guess we're past the dog days of baseball season. We're down the home stretch here, but a lot of, we got some call-ups. We got a lot going on. It's tough to figure it out fantasy-wise, but we're here to do that. How's everything with you?
Good. A lot of traveling lately. A lot of activity. It's that time of year, Scott, where we're trying to balance.
Something happening this week?
Yeah, balancing our attention to many things, multiple sports, a little college, a little bit of, kids going back to school, all that, and then more. It's great though. It's great.
And I'm just here trying to keep players on my team from getting shot. It's great.
Yeah, jeez.
Crazy story. I'm so glad he's lucky he's okay, man. That was a crazy story when you read about it.
Yeah, totally.
Horrible stuff. But thankfully, Ricky Pearsall's okay. So it's just, I don't know. I don't even care about football. Okay. I just care about the fact that he's regular. Okay. But baseball wise, Jeff, the AL wild card, we were talking last week and there were 5 teams over 90%, or I think it was 6 teams over 90% because the Royals were up there. Royals, bad week. They've lost 5 games in a row. Playoff odds went from over 90% to 77%.
Yeah.
The interesting thing about this is they brought other teams in the mix. They've kind of brought Boston back in the mix. They're 4.5 out, Detroit 5 out, Mariners 5.5. So those teams are still a ways out. But like last week, It was 6, 7, something like that. A month left, 5 games is definitely make up a bowl, especially when you're only trying to catch, all those teams are trying to catch Kansas City or Minnesota, who are essentially tied for the last spot. Interesting that Minnesota has much higher playoff odds than Kansas City, but
isn't that weird?
It is really
it's
weird.
All about perception. I mean, the Twins have played 2 fewer games, so maybe that has something to do with it. Maybe.
But, their winning percentage is 54%. Like, is that really
remaining schedule, all that? I will say this though, it's still 4.5 games.
It is a bunch. Yeah.
And the funny thing is, but many fine people thought that that's the way it would trend. Like the Red Sox were going to get that series against the Royals. They were going to use that to kind of take it to the next level, and it just didn't happen. The Red Sox themselves have lost 2 in a row. They're not taking advantage of this. I think it's funny that the Tigers are closer than the Mariners right now.
It is
closer than the Blue Jays, closer than the Rays and the Rangers for that.
Rangers, yeah. Boy. It is pretty wild. It's crazy to me that the Royals have a higher run differential than Baltimore does. That one surprised me too. But it's getting a little more wide open. What do you think? Any of those 3 teams can catch anybody? You think we're going to stick with the 3 teams that are at the top right
now? I think it. I mean, the odds still are overwhelmingly in Kingston's favor. But Lugo has been taking on some water lately. They lost Vinnie P. They added 3 players. I mean, I think that's pretty wild. That first of all, teams are doing the Angels thing now and cutting players they acquired, like the Cardinals with Tommy Pham. Sadly, Yuli Gurriel, who's like 72 years old, is the best option the Royals could find at first base, but he was killing it in AAA.
They let off Tommy Pham today.
Yeah. Well, Tommy Pham's a decent player. I mean, it just shows where the Cardinals are at.
Yeah, just funny you go from traded to release to signed by a team in contention in a playoff spot right now and leading off. It's just wild how that works.
Yeah, I just don't understand. Obviously I understand what the Cardinals are doing. It's because they're saving money. They're surrendering a little bit. They also, they have some multiplicity of options, so they're kind of going with that last in first out. Just it's a shame the Tommy Pham reunion tour was so short.
Yeah, it really was quick. Jumping over the National League, we certainly have more of a race than we did a week or 2 ago. The Cubs and the Mets are on fire, which is causing that. The Cubs have won 9 of the last 10, won 6 in a row. Mets have won 4 in a row. The Braves lost again tonight on a walk-off by Nick Castellanos. So they only have a 1-game lead over the Mets, 3 games lead over the Cubs. The Cubs were dead 2 weeks ago. And now the Cubs are no longer dead, 3 back of the wild card.
Mhm.
It's funny. We were talking last week about it with the percentages and everything was looking kind of a little bit dull. Both these races picked up a little bit. The National League is pretty wide open right now, at least for that third spot.
Yeah, that's right. Credit to Joe Sheehan, as I always tend to do. He kind of called the Cubs still being live in this when he did his like final third of the season breakdown of each team. So, he kind of said that, he's sticking to his guns with the Cubs, and here they are. And some of this is because like you look at some of the metrics. I mean, you could tell that they were at least they were outscoring their competition. Of course, they're now plus 52.
Yeah.
Their starting pitching was actually okay. That's always a good starting point. And their schedule, I mean, look at who they've played lately. They've played the Nats, they played the Pirates, they played the Marlins. I mean,
Yep.
Tigers before that, where they won 2 out of 3. The Blue Jays before that. That's a pretty handy schedule there that they're kind of going through at the right time. The Tigers are the only team in those that are playing anything worth anything right now. Coming up, Pittsburgh, Washington, Pittsburgh. So 3 more good series. Then the Yankees, Dodgers. So that's tough. Then Coors Field, your A's, your former A's. Then Washington again.
Yeah, Pittsburgh. The Pittsburgh, Washington, you mentioned they've already played that one. That's the stretch they just went through. But they go Pittsburgh, New York, LA coming up. That's actually that gets pretty tough.
Yeah. I'm sorry.
Yeah,
I did.
Yeah.
I piled on. Yeah, you're right.
But then they go to Coors Field. They play the A's. I mean, that's a good. The A's have been obviously better than they were early, but that's still a pretty good stretch. And then you mentioned Washington again.
Yeah,
they still can't get anybody out. They finish 3 at Philly and then 3 against the Reds. So yeah, they either play really good teams or really bad teams down the stretch. There's no in between there. But it looks still looks pretty good for them. That Cubs Yankees series suddenly be pretty fun next weekend at Wrigley.
Yeah, it should be. Uncle Ted points out P. Crow Armstrong.
Yeah, he's balling.
He's balling. It's a good addition to this team. And one of the things they were lacking was defense. And so you put him in center field, he catches everything, and that helps.
The White Sox have now lost 10 in a row again. This is pretty insane.
What more can you say? I mean,
31 and 107.
Yeah. Wow. They had the Grady Sizemore bounce for a second.
Yeah.
It was really, it wasn't really a bounce. It was kind of like a thump, but
me jumping up a little bit.
Yeah. Or me.
Yeah.
For that matter.
Not a lot of hops over here.
No, but I felt bad for Sizemore because he's stepping into a hopeless situation there.
Yeah.
But yeah. What are you going to do? They're going to be terrible again next year too.
Yeah, they're not going to be good. But on the good side of the AL Central, the Guardians are leading. They're up 3.5. Alex Cobb pitched pretty well today. For all the talk about Shohei Ohtani, deservedly so, his was he at 44, 43. Jose Ramirez has an outside chance to get to 40-40 himself. He's at 33-34 right now. Mm-hmm. He's still I think he has 16 bags since the All-Star break. He's really running a lot right now. Part of me thinks he's actually going for that 40-40. I think that's in the back of his mind. The home runs might be a little bit tough. He's going to get 7 this month, which is obviously it's about a 42 home run pace, which would be tough. But 98 runs, 104 RBI, and 33 home runs, 34 steals, hitting 274. An insane year for Jose Ramirez. And, I think Ohtani's probably overshadowed a little bit the 40-40, but Jose got a chance to get there too.
Yeah. All the talk about top 5 next year, and Ramirez kind of gets overlooked. We did the meatball draft. I had Rob DiPietro on Thursday's pod to talk about that. Ramirez went 6th there. It's kind of like, okay, there's the big 3, Ohtani, Witt, Judge, but should it be like the big 6 with Gunnar, Soto, and Ramirez too, or Elly De La Cruz for them and make it the big 7? I don't know.
Yeah.
We've got some extraordinary seasons is my point.
Yeah, we certainly have had some really good seasons. It's been fun, but we get 2 40-40 guys in 1 year. That would be and potentially a 50-50 guy. It's pretty wild. We're talking about 2 of these guys. There's only been 6 ever with Ohtani now. It's been a fun year, a little bit of a weird year, a lot of injuries, but there's been some really outstanding performances too.
Yeah, there has. James Anderson wrote up that draft too. They did 11 rounds for 2025 already. By the way, guys, for real, they're going to play it out as part of a DC.
Do they do? Oh, should they do the last 39 rounds at some point later?
Yep. They're going to do some more that are live, and then they're going to do slow draft after that. So it's it's pretty darn awesome that they do that. It's crazy, but awesome.
Yeah. a little bit crazy, but yeah, it's fun. And it's, it's fun to do a draft where there is no ADP. There's nothing at all like that. You just there's nothing. You can't find one draft that's been done. So
you can't find a set of projections yet.
Yeah.
Not credibly at least. Ted was talking Francisco Lindor. I will never complain about Lindor again. He's awesome at baseball. He went at 15 in this one here. So that's a full round ahead of where he was going last year. Think about that for a second there. Terrible start to the season and ends up going a full round earlier than what he was drafted as. That's wild.
I would argue against he does not really have a chance for 40-40. He's at 28, 29, 25. That would be a crazy stolen base run for him, but it's going to be a 35, 28 year is really damn good.
Yep. It's really darn good. And I wonder if how many more years he has left of this, but it's certainly more than I was giving credit at the beginning of the year. That's for sure.
Has he passed Gunnar yet?
An earned auction value or just
he's got to be pretty darn close, right?
This is something I could look up. I don't believe so, but it's certainly
from where he was after 6 weeks. It's pretty incredible. It's this close.
Yeah. I'm looking it up right now. I got to make sure I get it for NFBC purposes as far as that goes. Cause we in an OBP league I was searching for earlier today. That would not be helpful. Lindor is at 36 and Gunnar is at 36. So they're tied.
Wow. That's pretty wild.
I could have had both, but yeah.
It's a long season, Jeff.
It is. It really is.
Kind of what it comes down to there. Good segue to the Mets, though. We talked about their hot streak. It's kind of coincided with how good Sean Manaea has been.
Yeah.
Someone that we always kind of like a fringy, maybe a streamer type. But since July 1st, he's appeared in 12 games, 74 innings, a 2.79 ERA. Pitched really well again today. I do know he was against the White Sox, but not all those starts were. He's pitched some other really good games, too. He had 11 strikeouts against Arizona, who they lost 2 or 3 so far. The Dodgers, I know they've won more game, but they score a ton of runs.
Against lefties, too. Yeah, they crush lefties. For him to do that was super impressive.
He had 9 strikeouts and 7 innings against Baltimore. He had a game against the Minnesota in there with 11 strikeouts. He had a game against the Yankees where he didn't pitch very well, but he's faced some good teams there. It's been a really good run, and he's been huge for them. Big part of the reason that they've gotten hot and getting back in this race here.
My favorite story about him is he saw Chris Sale and said, "I'll throw it like that. Just be like Chris Sale."
That's nice.
Okay.
I'd like to be able to do that.
The funny thing is Manaea was a guy that was freely available, a month into the season, even.
Absolutely. Yeah. He was someone that, like I said, kind of a streamer, dropped on and off, but you could have, especially in a 12-teamer, you could have picked him up multiple times.
So let me ask you this.
Sure.
How early are you taking him next year?
Man, that's a really good question. I probably haven't looked close enough to really know. He's always someone that I have trouble fully trusting because it just depends so much on how his velocity is. What is his velocity this year? Is it up? It is.
You're asking questions.
I am asking questions. I'm on his page, so I could tell you if I could ever find it. I have to look. I don't know what his velocity is at, but he's at 88. No, that's exit velocity. Doesn't help us very much. I don't know, but he's one of those guys that kind of lives right on that edge. Like when he's throwing hard, he's really good, but he's been more effective. He seems like he's changed his pitch mix a little bit. I saw a couple interviews with him where he's talked about changing stuff. It's funny because his K to walk numbers are exactly the same as last year. The BABIP is 260, so that's definitely helping him a little bit. Ground ball rate's down a little bit. Yeah, I mean, I'm taking him, but I'm not really pushing him up very high. I think that he's probably pitched well, but also had a little good fortune in there too. Yeah,
I'm looking at this meatball draft, and I don't see Manaea taken anywhere yet. So 11 rounds of a 15-team draft, and he's still undrafted. So 165 players in, he's still undrafted. These are veteran players, really accomplished players that are passing on him right now. Like Brandon Woodruff did get taken, though. I think that's kind of interesting.
That's a name I hadn't thought of in a while.
Yeah. That's a lot of faith. And it's just one example. I don't mean to pick on the drafter there because there's similar gamble, I had Rob on the pod and we talked about so I can reveal, but he took Jacob deGrom in the third. It's major league sight unseen right now. I mean, we're kind of that. The fact that Manaea is undrafted is kind of interesting to me. I would take him over a handful of these pitchers that did go. Like I'd take him over Luis Hill right now. I'd take him over Yusei Kikuchi right now.
Man, Kikuchi's been good in Houston. Crazy.
He has. He's a free agent. We'll see where he lands.
Yeah.
That's why I say right now.
Yeah,
I take him over Ryan Pepio. I take him over Sandy Alcantara. See, I'm spreading it around the other players drafted. I think I take him over all these guys. I think he's a top 150 player next year. Hot take.
I like it. That's what we're here for. That's good. We've talked a lot about Ohtani and Aaron Judge all year. There's a pitcher right now, Jeff, that is winning the pitching triple crown. Most strikeouts in the league, lowest ERA in the league, and most wins in the league. Tarik Skubal, 16-4, 2.51 ERA, 201 strikeouts. Those three lead all, and obviously for ERA, it's qualified, but he leads the majors in wins, the majors in strikeouts right now. I know that Sale and Cease might have passed him today, so it's right there. But he's in the contention for like a legit all-time season here. He's been freaking awesome. I think easily the number one pitcher taken next year. And he's, there was a little bit of back and forth. Do you take him in the second round, end the second round, early third round?
Yeah, he is pretty smart about that, right?
He has earned that at all ways possible. Dude's been awesome. He's been the best pitcher in baseball.
He has at that. Incredible on a team. He's won 16 games on a Tigers team that's over 500 now. So it's not as like, it's not finding love in a hopeless place or anything.
Still 16-4 on that team is damn impressive.
It is. It really is. And is he going to throw enough innings? He's at 168. No one's talking about shutting him down right now, by the way, either. That's the thing I love.
Yeah.
So yeah. Kudos to him in a great season. Kudos to everybody who took him in the second round. That was one of those like, okay, I guess I'll take him at the 2-3 turn if he comes to me, but I had to be convinced of doing it. Didn't make it.
Yeah.
This is one of those things where there'll be similar pitchers next year in the drafts where the starting pitching inflation is going to kick in. It didn't kick in that meatball draft. I'm not surprised. But main event time is different too because of the overall contest factor, because it's the main event. Right. It's in March. There's some players, the pitchers that have dropped out, so we panic about the others. All these things exist.
And you just get those people in the back half of the draft that know that they got you get a worse offensive player than those people in the front half. And you just want to get the better pitcher too. I'm looking at my Vegas draft. He went 3.6 in my Vegas draft.
Yeah.
That's pretty late right there.
3.6, really?
3.6, yep.
So you must live.
By the way,
the world.
The guy who took him is 19th overall and winning the league right now.
Yeah, I bet he would. I bet he's doing well. I bet you there's the overlapping diagram of Skubal owners and Skubal winners is pretty tight.
Although wild enough, he took Grayson in the 4th and Nolan Jones in the 5th and Sewald in the 6th and Kimbrel in the 7th.
Yeah, good players still make mistakes. That's the funny thing.
Evan Carter in the 8th. That's crazy how much. I mean, Skubal obviously picks up a lot, but that's pretty wild. That's some damn good managing right there. Wow. Geloff 9th, Zach and Jordan Walker 11th and 10th.
Yep. That's
wild. I guess you get Lindor and Skubal, and then you Marcell Ozuna 13th round, so might win the Triple Crown in hitting in the National League side. So that
kind of reminds me though of last year. Remember, Strider was so head and shoulders above the crowd.
Yeah,
in terms of like his value as a pitcher. There was a lot of correlation between Strider ownership and winning.
Oh, Paul Skeens in the 20th.
Yeah, so Skeens and Skubal. Wow, yeah, that'll do.
Brenton Doyle 22nd.
Yeah, that'll do.
Wow. It's amazing looking at a team. I mean, you guys 19th overall in a really, really hard competition that has 800 teams, 900 teams, whatever it is. And dude's 19th overall with a 4th through 10th. It didn't really help him, but so good everywhere else. It's amazing. Everybody's going to make mistakes in these drafts and stuff that doesn't work out.
Yeah.
And Michael O'Brien, I should say his name. He's killing it. He's at 130 points in our league and kicking all our butts.
Who'd you get in the first round, by the way?
I just looked at it. Mookie Betts. So that's a fun time on the IL too.
Yeah. Good lengthy time on the IL.
It's so funny looking at that middle of that first round. Julio, Corbin Carroll, who's been really good lately. Mookie Betts, Kyle Tucker.
Wow.
That's 4 through 7. It's crazy.
Kyle Tucker was worth it until he wasn't. But
yep. And then you look at a couple down, you got Tatis and pick 10. I mean, that's one that obviously hasn't worked out either. It's then you get to 12 and 13, you go Ohtani Judge. It's amazing how you could
Ohtani Judge J-Ram all at the back of the first round.
There's a guy. So the pick
Harper's not bad.
Pick 13 in my Vegas league. So I'm looking at this. Started Judge J-Ram.
Yeah, is that good?
That is absurd.
Yeah.
What is that? That's what 80 something mid 80 home runs and 40 stolen base. That's crazy. That's a crazy back-to-back. By the way, he's second in our league, so there's no surprise there.
Yeah. And I'm surprised the Ohtani manager isn't there.
Yeah. Harper, Seager, Frammer, Evan Phillips for the Ohtani manager after that. Then Yelich, then
That's
Alzolay.
not bad, except for Phillips, but
then Yelich, Alzolay. Got a Brian Hayes in there.
Ooh.
An Edward Julian and a Bo Naylor and a Starling Marte and a Jung Hoo Lee back to back. That's tough.
Yeah, we all have those too. Fine art.
I look at mine. I see Shane Bieber, Jordan Romano back to back, and I know why I'm in 7th place.
Mm-hmm.
But let's jump to this week. We've got a handful of teams with 7 games, not quite as many as last week. A quick note, though, there are 5 day games tomorrow. Obviously, it's Labor Day tomorrow, so there are a lot of day games. So there are 5 day games tomorrow. So make sure that if you're listening tonight, maybe set your line. If you're listening in the morning, maybe jump over to whatever site you happen to be using for your fantasy league and go set some lineups because there are 10 teams that lock before the normal night games would start. Dodgers Diamondbacks tomorrow afternoon should be fun. That's been a crazy series. There's been a lot of runs scored in that game. Dodgers won 2 close games, got smoked today. The Diamondbacks are scoring like 8-9 runs a game in that series. Dodgers have been able to score enough the next one, but this is a big game because the Dodgers win 3 out of 4. There's a lot for the standings. If the Diamondbacks can get that back to 2-2, they're right back in this thing.
Yeah, for sure.
They're a fun team. I really like watching them play.
Yeah, I do too. I don't like the stadium they play in.
It's not great.
So I don't like their telecasts.
Although seeing Freddie hit a ball over the pool the other night was pretty awesome. That's a bomb.
I'll try to, I'm local, so, get the Dodgers broadcast so I can I can get that still, which is nice. But that's the thing is like, the team is so interesting that I feel like the broadcast is less so. I know it's hard to broadcast games. I just prefer other crews.
Yeah. So we got Pittsburgh, Arizona, Texas, Oakland, Seattle, Minnesota, and Tampa with 7. Again, a bunch of day games, so make sure you check all those. And we have one team with 5 games, Jeff. The Toronto Blue Jays have 5 games this week. So just a note there that they don't play Monday or Thursday this week.
Yeah. So that's the dreaded. They must have like a dreaded rivalry game against the Expos, right? Oh no.
I was gonna try to think who the heck could be their rival. They play the Phillies Tuesday, Wednesday.
So that's their rival. Yeah.
The Phillies play a 4-game set against the Marlins, so that's why they have 6 this week. So
yeah,
I guess is that the national? No, they're close to the Mets, like distance wise, right?
Yeah, but the Mets have the Yankees, so yeah.
Well,
in terms of
kind of a rivalry,
yeah. Not everybody can get the Mets and the Yankees, and
not everybody can be A's Giants. I get it.
Yeah.
Sacramento and San Francisco have a long storied history of battling each other out.
Yeah. Yes, exactly. Just like the Mariners and the Padres, just hated rivals.
That's right. They were when they tried to do those fake rivals. It was always pretty funny. But I do want to talk some FAAB, but let's do a few news and notes real quick. You mentioned Vinnie Pasquantino, essentially done for the year, out 6 to 8 weeks. That shuts him down. 10 AL with a thumb injury, long term. Do you think maybe a chance to come back if they go deep in the playoffs? It'd still be really tough, though. Huh?
Yeah, I don't even think that's possible if it's 6 to 8 weeks. I mean,
we got 5. You're right.
And I don't see them winning without him, so I don't know.
Yeah.
And again, I've underestimated the Royals all year. We've talked about it. I look at that lineup.
We would have said that. We would have said that about the Diamondbacks. We would have said that about the Diamondbacks and the Rangers last year too. So
yeah. And I look at like how the heck are they outscoring opponents by over 90 runs?
Yep.
I look at that lineup and it's Bobby Witt and it's Sal and it's Vinny who is slightly above average. He's got tons of RBIs, but if you look at his slash line, it's okay for a first baseman.
Paul Zhang, Freddie Fermin, Michael Garcia has been bad. They pitched well too. I mean, Lugo, Reagans have been really good.
And both are kind of either taking on water, or in the case of Lugo or Reagans, a little cramping up in the legs. It's a weird team.
Yeah, they do feel smoke and mirrors, but they just kind of keep getting it done. I mean, obviously until this week, but I hope they sneak in. I like when new teams sneak in anyway.
Same.
We mentioned Kyle Tucker earlier. We were talking about first rounders that did not work out. Sounds like he could be activated this week. He might play Thursday or Wednesday or Thursday, Jeff. I'm going to need to see him actually on the field doing something before I believe this, but it sounds like there's a chance he might play this week, believe it or not.
He's doing on-field activities with some urgency now.
The updates on him have been so ridiculous.
Insane updates on him.
Yeah, I have him in my auction league, and it's not going to matter when he comes back, but I'll put him in anyway. We talking about the Dodgers a second ago. Clayton Kershaw, 15-day IL, bone spur in his toe. He pretty much said he couldn't push off at all that first inning of the game against Arizona. He gave up 3 runs. They took him out. Jeff, I'm curious, fantasy-wise, would you drop him? I dropped him in both leagues I had him in. I just think that this is going to linger. I think they're not going to push him. They're going to be in the playoffs, whether they win the division or not. They're going to be in the playoffs. I don't think he's going to really work fantasy-wise with 4 weeks left.
I mean, they need him for the playoffs, so I think they got it. I mean, but they can't rush him back. He's an eggshell plaintiff. He's one of those guys that just you got to kind of treat super gingerly. I'm looking at their playoff rotation. It's insane right now, Scott. I know our next note is about Tyler Glasnow, and we don't know if either Kershaw or Glasnow is going to be available for the playoffs. Yep. We don't know if Yamamoto is going to be available for the playoffs. The only guy I know for certain is going to be pitching in the playoffs is Flaherty, and I have a pretty good feeling that Gavin Stone will too. Wait, how much do you trust Walker Buehler? How much do you trust Bobby Miller? Not at all.
Weirdly, I trust Miller a little more than Buehler, which says a lot about Buehler, but I don't trust Bobby Miller either. I don't know. I mean, Buehler's not missing any bats. His swinging strike rate's 7.5% with a career over 11%. Like, he's a different guy right now, and has not changed since he's come back. So it's not like he was hurt, now he's really good thing. Like, he's been back and he's been similarly bad.
Yeah, he has. I don't know what to do with them. It's tough.
They need Glasnow and Yamamoto badly.
Yeah.
And if those guys are fully healthy, like in pitching, like that, suddenly it looks pretty good when you throw those two and Flaherty. But you mentioned Glasnow. Now the quote from the Dodgers was mid-September's best case scenario.
Mm-hmm.
Got to think that you just drop him in the league now, right? You have to, right?
I mean, it would take a lot not to. At this point, I mean, I would really have to see like, okay, this is my only stash right now, and it's for the last 2 weeks. I mean,
but then his first start, he's not throwing 5, right?
Right. It's a kind of a prove it start,
and then the second start is the last week of the season, and they're going to the playoffs. Like, he's not going deep that game either, right?
Probably not, unless they're trying to stretch him out for the playoffs,
or they're like tied with Arizona, and it's like I get there's ways they could do it, but man, I just think the spot's better used right now.
I tend to agree. I don't think you're wrong. Just got to have that alternative is the tough part, though. And we're going to talk about that in FAAB.
There's not a ton of alternatives. So, let's get real quick through a few more news and notes. Alec Bohm and Alex Bregman, both third basemen, both next to each other in our outline, both missed the whole weekend. Bohm with hand discomfort, Bregman with a sore elbow. It doesn't seem like either one will go on the IL, but that's one that you got to check. You got to check lineups. You just never know what these happen here. The Phillies do not play tomorrow. We mentioned they play Tuesday, Wednesday against Toronto. So you're not going to know on Bohm. Houston does play tomorrow. They have a weird series. They play the Reds Monday, Wednesday, Thursday. I guess they just wanted to get the Labor Day game in there in Cincinnati.
I guess. I mean, but yet not everybody plays on Labor Day. So that's super weird.
I guess you can't not play in the Great American Ballpark on Labor Day, right?
I guess not. That's not. This is the second go around with this elbow for Bregman. Definitely cause for concern.
It is a cause for concern. I agree there. Lucas Erceg, who was pitching really well for the Royals until he wasn't, because he reached for a one hopper that hit his hand. He's missed the last 3 or 4 days with a sore right hand. They put him at day-to-day. No IL yet. This has been a tough one because he has been pitching really well. He had been clearly kind of given that closer's role for the Royals, and now a little bit up in the air. Jeff, they got a big series weekend. They play Cleveland Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, then they play Minnesota Friday, Saturday, Sunday. This is this is the biggest week for the Royals since they won the World Series in 2015?
Since the beginning of this week when they were playing Cleveland for 4 games in Cleveland. And everything was going swimmingly to that last game too.
Yeah, they swept the doubleheader and they won, and then boom, 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 and they just got smoked by the Astros.
Yeah, that last game in Cleveland, Erceg was brought in like the 7th inning. That was the game he got hurt too. And he also was given, they thought that was like the prime moment in the game. He got hurt in that moment too. It was bad all around.
It was, but yeah, that's a fun week for the Royals. Cleveland, we'll know a lot about the Royals next time there's a podcast. I know you're not going to be here next week, but next time there's a podcast, we will we'll talk about all of them. Ramon Urias went in the 10-day IL with a right ankle sprain. If you're in a deeper league and you've been using him, he's actually been a little bit helpful. He's going to be out for a little bit. Luis Heel, who you mentioned, we were talking about the meatball draft. I started his rehab stint on Sunday. Didn't pitch great, but you're just looking for innings at that point. I would guess that maybe he needs one more. If you wanted to grab Heel, maybe you could pitch him the week of September 9th or so.
Yeah, you could.
Although I'm not sure they're going to fully stretch him out. I'm not even sure he's going to fully go in the rotation. I don't know what they're going to do with him because Clark Schmidt's going to be back probably on Friday or sometime over the weekend against the Cubs. He'll make it to the bullpen.
Just going to say the Bloom's a little off the rose with Heel. I know his ratios are still pretty good, 339, 120, but control was kind of eluding him even before this injury a little bit. I've got some concerns. I've definitely got some concerns.
Yeah, he's 4.43 since the break. That's only 22 innings. But if Schmidt doesn't have any setbacks, and it sounds like he is not going to need another rehab start. If he pitches Friday, Cole, Rodon, Stroman, Schmidt, Cortez, I don't think Heel replaces any of those guys, right? Unless they want to go 6-man for a couple weeks. I think those 5 stick.
Yeah, and I have some long-term concerns about Heel too.
Yep.
But then again, earlier in the season, weren't we talking about finding ways to limit his innings?
It was him and Crochet. Crochet, we talked about. We kept looking at how few innings they had thrown in the last couple of years, and what are they going to do? And I think they needed to find it. They found it now that he got hurt, but he definitely struggled these last like 6 weeks or so.
As Jeff Goldblum would say, nature finds a way.
It certainly does. What the White Sox doing with Crochet is still the weirdest thing to me. He threw awesome today, and they just took him out at 57 pitches. Like, I don't know what we're doing. Like, can't we just let him throw 6 innings 3 times rather than throwing 3 innings 6 times? Like, it's so weird.
It's the White Sox.
I guess, but like, it's just weird to have him throw 55 pitches and go out. It's just, I don't know. But
yeah,
I dropped him today, by the way, finally. I just, the ratios are really good the last 3 starts, but it's impossible to throw a guy who throws 3 innings, he's out.
Yeah, it's funny because you've seen drops and then ads.
Yep.
Some big ads too on Crochet, thinking, okay, well, let's catch lightning in a bottle. Maybe I'll get a win. They still got, you got 7 strikeouts in a row to start the game today.
Yeah.
So,
I threw him this week for the first time a lot because I threw him this week because he had 2 starts. Mm-hmm. And I figured, at least now I'm getting 8 innings out of him. But he was the guy that pitched on, it was their Monday or Tuesday, made 4 pitches and then they had a rain delay and they suspended the game after that. So He only pitched once this week, Jeff.
White Sox.
I don't know why they started that game, but things happen. A couple of notes. Dalton Varsho missed the weekend with a shoulder. If you're counting on him, make sure you check out that. Although we mentioned the Blue Jays don't play on Monday.
Or just check out.
Yeah, that's true too. Darvish. We mentioned him last week coming back. He had been he'd been on the reserve list. 66 pitches in a controlled minor league game. My guess would be we don't get to use him this week, but I think he probably pitches the week of September 9th too. I think probably one more, controlled environment start. Maybe gets up to 80 pitches and they probably throw him out there the week after that.
Yeah, we have got him actually listed for Friday on RotoWire. So for what it's worth.
Okay.
We'll see. It'll probably be like a 4-inning outing though.
I was going to say he threw 66 4 innings on Friday. So against Cincinnati minor leaguers. There you go. Yeah. All I saw was next steps are to be determined. So I was guessing one more, but yeah, conceivably they could just throw him out there on Friday against the Giants. Like, it's a big game. They could probably do that.
Yeah, exactly.
Let's talk some FAAB. But first, a note from our sponsors at DraftKings Pick 6. Do you ever play the over-under game with your friends? They can eat that slice of pizza in under 30 seconds. Or I know it'll take you over a minute to down that 2-liter soda. If you have, you're going to love Pick 6, the new fantasy game from DraftKings. Here's how to play during baseball season. Pick between 2 and 6 players and choose if they have more or less of a stat, like runs, hits, strikeouts, and more. Track your picks and play against others for a shot to win huge cash prizes. That's all there is to it. Download the new DraftKings Pick 6 app and use code RWPicks. New customers play $5 and get 50 in Pick 6 credits. That's code RWPicks for new customers. Play $5 and get 50 in Pick 6 credits. Only on DraftKings Pick 6. The crown is now yours. 1 per new customer. Non-withdrawable Pick 6 credits expire in 6 months. Limited time offer. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER. 18 plus in most eligible states. Not eligible in all states, including New York and Connecticut. Eligibility restrictions apply. Void where prohibited. See terms at pick6.draftkings.com/promos. So Jeff, let's see. We got a question in the chat about the NFBC main event. Our friend Steven trying to make the top 35 in the main event. On top of your head, what are the categories that would turn to earn points the quickest? Strikeouts or saves? It's just so it's so dependent on where you are. Like if you're buried,
how granular is it? Yep.
If you're buried in strikeouts, like there's spots you can gain like 50 strikeouts, you get a ton of points. But if you're way up there and strikeouts don't really help you that much either. So it just depends. In a vacuum, I would definitely say strikeouts. I think that you can just get clumps of strikeouts faster. I know that getting saves. It'll clump together quicker, but man, it's just so hard to time those. I think you can target strikeouts where it's hard to target saves. You can throw foreclosures if you have them. Obviously, go for that if you can. But I just think you can target strikeouts. You can throw guys are going to get strikeouts, where you can throw foreclosures and get one save in a week. Where I think you can really with strikeouts, you can kind of make sure that you get a bunch of them.
Yeah, I was just gonna say strikeouts are more bankable. Saves probably have more impact.
Yeah, that's fair.
But good luck trying to predict them though. And
yeah.
And you're going to cost yourself strikeouts by loading up on relievers, probably too.
That's a good point right there too. And you really got to look at where you are. I mean, if you're at a point where you're really kind of bad in saves, and maybe 4 or 5 saves don't really gain you that much, but the strikeouts do. Like I said, you could be top of strikeouts, and it's not going to matter how many you get. You really got to look at, I always look at like where can I gain 100 to 200 points, that sort of thing. So I'm really looking at like what's clumped together where I am, looking at those overall standings. Obviously, a couple of years ago I was in that mix, and I looked at that a bunch of where can I gain. I also look where can you lose too, because you mentioned if you throw foreclosures out there and you're at a point where you can quickly go down in strikeouts, you don't have any kind of buffer there. You got to factor that in too, because if you're gaining in saves and losing in strikeouts, it doesn't really help you overall.
Yep. Reminder of like a couple of years ago when we were live for a nanosecond in the overall, and we tried to make that up all that ground in saves and added all these crappy relievers and did not get the saves, nor did I get the strikeouts, and finished third in the league instead of winning the league and getting overall.
It's a tough little balance. There's times where you're top 35 and you're so far ahead in your league, you can kind of play with that. But there's some leagues that have got 2 or 3 teams in the top 50, and you can't really play with that. And in a main event, winning your league's a lot of money. I know a lot of people are like, the money's in the overall and all that kind of stuff. And I get that big top number is key, but if you're not going to win it and you're maybe looking for top 10, you got to focus on a league, because that's $7,000 for a league. It's a lot of money.
Yeah, it is.
Let's see. So let's talk a little bit about FAAB here. It wasn't a huge FAAB week, but there were a couple of names. We'll start with hitters because that was the biggest name. The Nationals called up Dylan Cruz. He was clearly the big bid this week. There were a lot of anybody that had money. I think that he was clearly the top bid in almost all my leagues. What do you think about Cruz? I think you and I probably in a spot where we didn't have enough money to get him, but
not remotely.
I would have loved to get him, but I was not especially close, unfortunately.
I think you could have multiplied my FAAB budget by 10, and I still couldn't have afforded him. He went for 143 in my league.
Oh wow, he went for 87 and 34 in my 2 millions. I guess nobody has money in one of mine.
Yeah. And that's just the thing about September is weird. You're going to get that. And it's a good barometer for who's still paying attention.
Yep.
Hey, and yeah, point that finger at me a little bit there too, because I'm multitasking quite a bit. Yeah. Went for 271 in one league. Who has 271 to spend at this point? I'm not sure if I'm impressed or, I'm actually probably not impressed. But
I was going to say probably the other side of that, and probably not very active in the middle months here.
Yeah, but who knows? Maybe the team's doing better than I'm giving them credit for, and they just things have worked out. Now I'm very intrigued, and I have to look and see how that said team is doing.
As you're doing that, someone as we're doing hitters pointed out Lawrence Butler. If you're in a league and Lawrence Butler is available, I don't know what to say. Lawrence Butler is awesome. Yeah. I added him in the main event 4 weeks ago. That's been one of my few good moves. Good man. He had 6 bombs this week. Dude has been awesome.
Yeah, he has. He's been phenomenal.
Cruz is obviously a major prospect. He was top 5 in most prospect lists. He was the 2nd overall pick last year, right after Skeens. Right, Skeens is 1, Cruz is 2. Yeah. I'll
give you an idea of about where Lawrence Butler should go, though. Check out our dynasty rankings. James Anderson updated those fairly recently. Lawrence Butler is all the way up at 103.
Wow.
In our dynasty rankings. He wasn't in our top 400, top 500 dynasty rankings.
Dude, he got sent down by the A's earlier this year. That says a lot right there.
Yeah.
But yeah, 20 home runs, 12 stolen bases. And the thing is, 50% hard hit rate, 12.5% barrel rate. Angela in the chat mentioned he's a 10-teamer, so that's probably obviously why Butler's available. I think he should be. I mean, he's leading off every day for the A's. He's got 2 three home run games. I'm adding him in a 10-teamer and finding a way to play him for sure.
Yeah, absolutely.
He's one of those guys he's not even fringing in my lineup. He's just in. I don't even look at him anymore. He's just in.
Yeah, absolutely. Let me ask you this: Butler or Rooker next year?
Whew, that's a good one right there.
Thank you.
Rooker's, but these two guys together, I think. I wish I remember the stat. I think they have 35 home runs since July 1st together. So it's a number like that crazy. Rooker's 33.91.
Even 8 bags.
Even 8 bags. I think I probably have to go Rooker, although the stolen bases on Butler interesting. I think I probably have to go Rooker just based on track record, back-to-back 30 home run seasons. I think he's the 290 batting average is insane because he's striking out 29%. I mean, his BABIP's high. I think I probably go Rooker, just a little more bankable. But man, I think Butler's super toolsy upsidey too.
Yeah, he is. He really is.
A couple other names. So outside of Cruz, obviously that was the big name. If you could get him, that's someone that could get really hot for a month here, and a ton of upside with Cruz. But other names, Anthony Rizzo is back. He started today. He's back off the IL. He was only 19% owned in the main event. We've got some other guy, Addison Barger with Toronto, third base outfield. Everybody started with a couple of corners there. And then Jose Tena and Andres Chaparro. We talked about them a little bit last week at the Nationals, but both those guys are playing every day. Chaparro had a couple home runs. Tena's been really good. Still only about 60% roster in the main event. Of those corners, do you have a preference this weekend? Because I thought all those guys were very biddable into 15. I think a couple of those guys are biddable in 12 too.
I like Tena, but he's not available in all the 15. Not too many 15s. I think it was like 60%. You were saying,
yeah.
We ended up with Rizzo, and okay, whatever. We'll see. I mean, when you're bargain basement shopping, you get what you get and you don't get upset. But he was, we'll see. I mean, he's a player on a good team. The whole Ben Rice thing seems kind of over. So
yeah, I don't think you have to worry about that. I don't think you have to worry about playing time. I mean, Rizzo hit 7th today, but I think that he's going to play. And we're talking, 2 years off from a 32 home run year. He was really good last year until he got the concussion. Obviously, he was really bad this year before he got hurt. But like you said, on a good team, can have guys on base in front of him, and we're someone that we're not too far away from him being a pretty viable power bat.
Yeah, exactly. So yeah, can be interesting.
Yeah, I like both those Nationals because I think you get to the time of the year where playing time is important. We talked about Chaparro a bunch last week. He hit a bunch of home runs in the minor league. I think it's a power play where he's hitting 4th for them. And now you've got Cruz, now you got Wood, you've got CJ Abrams. He's got some good players in front of him too. It's not like you're hitting 4th for the White Sox. You're hitting 4th for the Nationals. The top half of the lineup is actually kind of interesting and a little bit fun. So I was definitely in on him. I added him in a couple leagues last week. I added him another one this week. I just think playing time in that spot's pretty good at the moment.
Yeah, I agree.
Any middles you like this week? I needed a middle in some leagues. Will Wagner has been playing well for the Blue Jays this week, although it seems like he sits every third game. He's kind of he plays 2 out of every 3. JP Crawford back in Seattle, like the most boring guy ever, but leads off. Granted, I don't know if you want to lead off for the Seattle offense, but Julio came on a little bit this week. Nick Gonzalez is back in Pittsburgh. He was someone that we had a pretty good streak earlier this year. Trey Sweeney is playing a bunch for Detroit. Any of these middles you liked? I wasn't overly excited. I had Wagner and Gonzalez and some bids, but that was about it.
Yeah, similar. I think Gonzalez is interesting, but the category juice with him hasn't really been there.
It hasn't.
So I think he's a reasonable, real life, decent player, but I don't know how much he helps us.
Yeah, I liked what I saw from Wagner. That was I had him and then Gonzalez most of the bids, and everybody else kind of down the list if I was doing anything. I just think that maybe Wagner plays a little bit more as the Blue Jays kind of fall more out of this race. But I was interested in them. It can't be Billy Wagner's kids in the majors, by the way. It makes me feel.
I know.
Yeah.
Every day there's another makes me feel older sort of situation there.
Yeah. Watching college football this weekend, you got a couple names. I'm like, oh my gosh, I can't believe that guy's a kid in college. It's crazy.
I was playing soccer tonight and playing with a couple people that are more than half my age, more than half my age younger than me. I'm 53. They're 23.
And you're still beating them up and down the field. That's impressive.
Oh, I am not. No. Ericksons were blessed with many things. Speed was not one of them.
Yeah. But so now we know you got no speed and you can't jump. So I'm a little worried. The good thing the hand-eye coordination is good.
Oh yeah, I'm the crafty left-hander that was a crafty left-hander when I was 10. Changing arm angles, couldn't throw super hard either. So besides that, I was a perfect player. But yeah.
In offensive FAAB this week, we had some names that were big in March, I guess I would call them. Victor Scott II is playing every day, making a little more contact, running a teeny bit. He was only 20% rostered in 12s. I know he's pretty owned in the main event. Jordan Walker got called up again by the Cardinals and had 5 hits today. I think it was like the fourth youngest Cardinal ever to have 5 hits. Kyle Manzardo, guy we talked about a bunch earlier in the year, he had 2 home runs today, his first 2 home runs in the majors. And Kobe Mayo back for the Orioles too. We've got so kind of a handful of guys that were sexy in March and April, didn't really work out, and now are back. Any of these guys you're interested in more than most of that group right there?
I mean, it has to be Walker. I mean, all of these guys except for Scott are kind of interesting to me. Scott is too a little bit because he can steal a billion bases, but I just don't think he's ever going to hit that much. Walker, I mean, is a perfect, buy lowest. I look forward to the Cardinals benching him 3 times this upcoming.
My next point was going to be, I just don't know if they're going to play him because if he just plays against lefties, like that's
isn't that part of them cutting Tommy Pham though?
I would really hope so. I just have got to the point where I don't really trust them at the moment.
Yeah, I don't either. But I mean, what do they have to play for but to figure out if Jordan Walker is part of their future?
And you got to figure it out now, right? I mean, he's been up a few times. It has not worked out great. He has had a few good stretches. He's clearly hitting the minors a bit, but I think you have to play him. I just think it'd be crazy to use guys. I mean, they don't even have any other guys left anymore. I mean, I guess it's Victor Scott. So you got Nootbaar, Burleson, Walker, and Michael Ciani. I just probably play Scott for Ciani.
Well, on Friday, Marmol said he's going to play every day, that Walker's going to play every day.
Oh, that's good at least. Okay.
So let's hopefully he holds to it. Marmol's probably gone after this year, but kudos to him for doing the right thing here. I mean, it make no sense not to play. If you're going to call him up, you just got to let him play. Well, here's the funny thing too, where all this hand wringing about, is he a part of their future? He's 22.
I know, it's crazy.
But yeah, Manzardo and Mayo are very interesting too. Second go around. I always like the guys the second time around better than the first, right?
I do too. Yeah.
So yes, of course they're interesting. I question whether Victor Scott will be able to hit, but and in fact, if Walker's playing every day, doesn't that kind of point towards Scott not playing every day?
Yeah, it's Scott and Ciani kind of splitting some time, I suppose, because Burleson is going to play. Nootbaar is going to play against all righties. So yeah, you're probably getting some Victor Scott days where he doesn't play. That's going to make that really tough for a guy you're looking for stolen base. You just want him in the lineup more than anything.
Yes, for sure.
Yeah. Do you think that Mayo plays? I know we mentioned Urias went in the IL, so third base is open there. Holiday's at second, Gunner's at short. Eloy's DHing, the outfield's going to take it. But does Mayo slide into third now? I mean, they got Emmanuel Rivera's not going to block him, right? I have to think they just kind of let Mayo play for a little bit, right?
I mean, if he goes 1 for 17 with 10 strikeouts again, no. But, other than that, yeah, I mean, he should play, on a regular basis. But the O's, I mean, they're obviously playing to win right now. They development matters, but it's not the priority right now. So if he stinks, he stinks. And that then you'll see Rivera because, he's been in the majors. He has tenure. Who knows? But it seems that the O's like to slow roll their prospects when they get called up. So
Holiday's been really bad since that 4-hit game in the middle of August too. He's got like 6 hits the last 2.5 weeks.
Yeah.
I think they're just playing him every day. I think you kind of have to do it, but he's not hitting it all yet. Yeah,
you're right about that. I didn't realize that to the extent to his struggles. But since that 4-hit game, like you said, 133, 204, 200, not a single homer in there, and 18 strikeouts and 49 plate appearances.
Yeah, he had homers in 3 straight games to start August, like the 4th, 6th, and 7th, and he has 1 home run since then. It's just not been there so far.
Yeah, it's interesting to see a lot of their prospects have struggled. We might see that back up soon, by the way, too.
Do you play Holiday in fantasy leagues right now?
I have been.
Because I have been with the thought that he's in a great lineup and he's going to hit at some point, right? And then you look up and it's 3 for 19 on the week.
Yeah, including a Coors Field series.
Yep.
I'm probably still playing him because I'm stubborn and stupid, maybe lazy. I don't know.
Yeah, I'm. It's got to be great matchups with like 3 righties. I think he can hit, but I have him a 12-teamer, so it's a little bit different. 50-teamer, I think I'd probably just play him, but a 12-teamer, he's kind of a half and half for me right now.
I think it depends on who you have. Again, we're dealing with a lot of part-time playing solutions here, right?
I find that with like some guys who are, I guess I call them name guys, I just kind of play them every week and I don't look close enough. Like I fall into that too. I've had Rhys Hoskins in for way too long. He's hitting 213. Oh, sorry, 210 after today. I know he has 22 home runs, but man, he's been really bad for them. He's got the Brewers win so much anyway, but he's at 210 with a 294 OBP. So bad for fantasy in the average, bad for real life in the OBP. He's just kind of one of those guys. I'm like, oh, I got Rhys Hoskins first, and I don't even think about it that much. Where I with those guys that aren't first, second round picks that you're never going to take out. I need to be a little better about figuring out those guys, not just letting them sit in the lineup for 5 months. Inertia
is a powerful force.
It is.
Right. And even baseball is a long-term game. We just talked about the positive side of things earlier in this podcast. It's easy to overlook when a player's overall numbers aren't that great. And you're like, oh yeah, he kind of stinks this year. Yeah. Why did I leave him in?
I feel like every time I'm like, oh, he kind of stinks. Then he hits a 3-run homer. I'm like, oh, there you go. Here comes the hot streak. And it just never kind of happens. But
yeah. Paul Goldschmidt.
Yeah. Let's talk some pitching, because the biggest pitching call up this week was one of your Reds. So I'm just gonna let you talk about Rhett Lowder.
Well, great. Their first overall draft pick. Climb the ladder. So you got to like what he's done in the minors this year. Kind of, the Reds rotation is. I think I asked this question: is it MacGyver or is it Frankenstein? I
like that.
Yeah, it's a little of both, maybe. I don't know. I'm curious to see how much they let him throw, but they're just desperate for starting pitchers. They have none of their original starters right now. None.
Wow. I just looked at their rotation this week. It's Aguilar, Nick Martinez, Lowder, Brandon Williamson, Jake Junis. You're right. There's none of the guys in there.
Yeah. Williamson's been hurt for 5.5 months. That was the transaction that inspired the tweet. I mean, Lodolo's not coming back this year. I don't think Ashcraft is either. Abbott,
Hunter Green's not coming back either, right?
I think maybe for a week or something. But
Lowder was the Wake Forest guy, right?
Yes, he is. They've gone back-to-back years now with Wake Forest pitchers, by the way.
He pitched against Stanford in the College World Series last year. I remember thinking this guy, how unhittable he was. Like, he looked nasty. I watched him his first start. I thought he actually looked pretty good.
Yeah,
I was interested. He did. I was interested, but he faces Houston this week, and I'm just like, great. So I add him, and I can't pitch him the first week. So
he only threw 4 innings in his first start, threw 80 pitches. 80 is not bad. Keep in mind, they didn't have him pitch at all after drafting him last year. They just
he didn't pitch at all last year.
No.
Interesting.
They had him working out at their Arizona camp or whatever, probably instructs and all that.
It was probably those 7 million pitches in the College World Series that I just referenced.
Yeah, exactly. And by the way, they didn't make the World Series this year. They didn't. But Chase Burns is under the same path. Okay. He's going to make his full season debut next spring.
And then Lowder gets if he stays in the rotation, they kind of go on form here. He gets a 2-step the next week. He gets at St. Louis, at Minnesota, which is at St. Louis. I think you throw that for sure. At Minnesota's a little scarier, but I think that you picked him up this week. You probably sit him this week and then start him next week would be the plan.
Probably.
There were a number of other pitchers I thought were interesting, and all of them were kind of either called up from the minors or just come back from injury. And there was a lot of guys that were pretty available in some main events, like half owned. I'm just going to read them off, see who you're interested in here. Alex Cobb, Reed Detmers, Zach Littell off the IL with 2 starts this week. Jordan Wicks, he and Cobb both pitched today. Casey Mize came back off the IL. Tyler McGill came back from the minors pitch this week. It's like a group of guys that all were intriguing names, but all can a little bit scary, but a little bit upside. Cobb and Detmers are about 70% owned. The other ones were under 50% rosters. So there's a lot of availability here. Who do you like in this group, and who do you not like, or what were you looking for?
Okay, I don't like McGill. Tyler McGill is the Charlie Brown and Lucy with the football for me. I always get it wrong. Yeah. Yes, strikeouts are there to be had if you time it right, but also blowups are there to be had if you time it wrong. I think Cooper Criswell is the pitcher we added in our league. I think Littell's interesting, but he also has like high variance. It's a tough call with him. But Littell gets 2 starts this week, home against Minnesota, at Baltimore, and I think he had a Baltimore start earlier that went pretty sideways, if I recall correctly. So
I know the wall is far, but that lineup's tough.
Yeah. It might have been a home start against them when he did get hit by them. I'm not making this up, am I? No, it was better than I thought. 3 runs, only 1 earned. Maybe I think.
Oh, that's not too bad.
Yeah.
I think it's Alex Cobb. I think it's Alex Cobb until he breaks again. I just think that Alex Cobb will be.
Has he been unbroken once this year?
Just today.
Okay.
That's literally it, though. Yeah, he got traded.
Took a perfect game in the 7th. Besides that,
yeah.
Gloss over that one, Jeff. Good job.
He's only made he made 2 starts and he got hurt again. Then he came back today. I just think that he's someone that will be good when he's pitching. I just think that he's had an ERA under 4 in 2021, 2022, 2023. He threw 150 innings in the last 2 seasons, each of the last 2 seasons too. I just think he'll be solid when he pitches, and then when he breaks, you drop him. I liked him, and I like Jordan Wicks too. I think Jordan Wicks is really talented. Pitching for a team in the Cubs, is playing really well. He pitched well today. I was Cobb, and then I was Wicks second. The problem is Wicks gets home Yankees and then out Colorado the next 2 weeks.
And Cobb gets at Dodgers this week.
I did notice that one. That was I don't want any part of that.
Home against the Rays next week, but again, 1 start for each of these 2 weeks.
Yep.
So, I mean, it's hard to pick up a guy this week knowing you can't use him.
It is.
I'm a hypocrite because I picked up Darvish last week knowing I couldn't use him. But,
it's tough because you don't pick him up now. Someone's going to. So you probably can't wait until next week. I really liked you're right. Cobb was the tough. I really like Wicks, but that's just New York, and then at Colorado is really tough. I know that Zach Eflin took a perfect game in the 7th at Colors today, but still not something you really want to mess with. But pitcher-wise, those are my favorites. What do you think about Reed Detmers coming back? Also, they're going to 6-man rotation, so no 2-steps probably at all. And he gets the Dodgers this week.
Yeah, and then at Minnesota.
Yep. I was interested until I saw his last 3 starts in the minors were really good. He had 30 strikeouts in the last 3 starts. But if you're picking him up, you can't throw him against the Dodgers, and he only has 1 start. They're going 6-man. And I don't think you throw him at Minnesota either. So you're looking at 3 weeks. I kind of crossed him off after that.
So the way I look at it is, okay, are you chasing ratios? Are you chasing Ks? What are you chasing? Yeah.
He's a K's only chasing guy. Right?
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly right. Because wins, Angels. Good one.
Yep.
Did you see the Angels, the way they lost last night? Oh, they didn't lose. They won actually, but the way they blew it.
You're talking about the suicide squeeze?
This is like they've had like 5 failed suicide squeezes this year. 2 of them have just been like horrible.
Do you know how hard it is to hit into a double play with a suicide squeeze?
It was surreal, and it wasn't even close at first base. I mean, he didn't even get out of the box. He hit this bunt that spun back to the catcher. Great play by Cal Raleigh to spring out and get it there. And he just stood there and the batter just stood there and watched. It was unreal. Ron Washington loves that himself a good suicide squeeze, but good ones are not to be found when it comes to
the play was awesome. Like, it's really hard to bunt the ball like 7 inches or whatever it was. It's just it's amazing.
And they had like their best hitter next too. It was no outs.
I'm trying to figure out who their best hitter is.
Well, it might be Neto, but I don't think it was Neto. I think it was someone else.
It actually is. It's a good. It probably is Neto. Net's been really good.
He's 2020 now this year. So But point is, it was an awful call, and it was a worse execution. It was art. It was beautiful.
Yeah, it was an amazing play. Kind of in that mix with the coming back from the minors. Cade Povich has come back this week, and he gets the White Sox. So we've talked about some guys we're interested in who have bad matchups. I don't really love Povich that much, but he does get the White Sox this week, and that's a bit of usable start. Him and Albert Suarez have 1 start this week against the White Sox. Those are like prime stream spots right there.
Yeah, you listed JT Ginn in there as well as an interesting stream.
Yeah, I was going to get
to Detroit.
I was going to get to 2-star pitchers. JT Ginn with the A's is one of them. Patrick Corbin, who's actually pitched pretty well lately, is at Miami, at Pittsburgh. Ty Madden for the Tigers is at San Diego, at Oakland. I saw some people being interested in that. I was actually mildly interested in I want to call him Ted Ginn no matter what, but JT Ginn.
Yeah.
I had him down my waterfall with the thought that I wasn't going to get a couple guys, and I'd get him. I ended up getting the guys ahead of him, so I didn't get him. But I thought just the Seattle Detroit 2-step was interesting. Although I'm scared that he walks some guys, but he has a 14%. He's got guys swing and miss so far this year. Didn't have a huge strikeout rate in the minors this year, AAA, but did in AA. So I thought he was kind of a swing and miss, kind of get some strikeouts guy. But there's a lot of blow up ability here too.
Yeah. 30 walks and 10 homers in 72 innings. Granted, AAA, especially Las Vegas, is like pitching on the moon. So
launching
a little bit of that, but the walks are also present. And that's the thing. But I mean, it's the same thing with like Boyle. It's a lot of these. I like Beto the best of the A's pitchers right now.
He's been really good lately.
Yeah. But Spence has got his moments. If it's the name 5 Oakland starters challenge, but there's a lot of teams like that.
I still came with Josh Young hit that Mason Miller fastball out today. It was crazy.
Miller was laboring though.
He was, but still to hit that ball out, it was like up and like 101 miles an hour. Hit out.
Yeah.
Barely kept it fair, but it was a hell of a swing.
Kind of a reminder that Josh Young is someone we kind of forgot about,
Yeah.
and haven't really spent a whole lot of time talking to him. It was a lost season for him, but might be a factor next year.
Yeah, that's someone that definitely we'll talk about in the offseason. Relievers, real quick, before we jump out of here. There are a lot of relievers. If you need saves, there are some interesting options. I'm just going to list them off, see who you like here. Aroldis Chapman, about 60% rostered in the main event. David Bednar has been taken out of the role. He's been really bad. I think his ERA is nearly 6. They've not said that Chapman's the guy. He got the first op, and he looked really good doing it, but they kind of said it's going to go by committee. I think they just didn't want to name Chapman the guy. But Evan Phillips is back in our world a little bit. He had a couple of saves a week for the Dodgers. Seems like he and Kopech are kind of splitting the role, but based on matchups, Kopech got a save and then pitched the 6th the next day. You never know with Dave Roberts. Manuel Rodriguez seems like he's usage-wise, maybe the more guy in Tampa Bay. I like Uceta more, but seems like they've been using Manuel Rodriguez. Tyler Kinley, we mentioned Colorado, not the big Colorado, he blew up earlier this week, and they got a save. What'd you do with close this week? Because there were some options if you could find if you needed some saves this week.
Well, and Vodnik's coming back, right? So
you just wanted to say Vodnik. You love
Vic the Vodnik is coming.
There is.
To take your saves. Yes. But I don't know. I mean, I think I'm pleased to see that Phillips is returning to form.
Yeah, he's been
Although
pitching.
I'm angry that it's not on my watch anymore, but that's just the way the season's going. And Dave Roberts has that galaxy brain. So do the Rays. I mean, Rodriguez is fine. I don't think there's one guy for the Rays. That's the problem. Yeah. I think it's just that's a feature. That's just the way they are.
I think it's pretty clearly Chapman for me. I think that he's just the one guy that of this group, could just take the job for a month. And I know the walks are immensely high this year, but the strikeouts are too. He's a 38% strikeout right now. He's not quite the same guy he was last year with the strikeouts, but still, that's a huge rate. Bednar's been awful. I think if Chapman were to get 3 in a row, maybe he could just stick in that job. So that's the one that it's when I was most interested. Someone in the chat mentioned Ryan Walker. We love Ryan Walker, but that ship has sailed unless you're in a shallow league. That one, he's been really good. And I think even with Duvall up, I think Walker keeps that job for the rest of the way here. If you're the 12-teamer, Jason Foley is about half rostered. He just has kind of been back in the job now. He's at the 20 saves. I think that he could blow up an 8-point, but he's kind of back in that role at least.
Yeah, that Detroit thing I'm hand waving too much. I probably, have kind of moved on from that and probably missed out a little bit because it's so frustrating from week to week.
And if you had him, you probably dropped him at some point anyway, so you probably didn't get all those saves, but he does have 20. And you got the Cubs, you got Jorge Lopez and Porter Hodge. They seem like usage-wise, they were going with Lopez, but then he got a little bit banged up and Hodge got a save over the weekend. I like Hodge as a pitcher, so I'm kind of sticking there, but I realize that the usage-wise, it's looked like maybe it's more Lopez.
Yeah. By the way, going back to the Pirates, that you saw that collapse game against the Cubs. Chapman gave up 3 runs in that game too before Bednar blew up in the 9th, and it wasn't.
He did,
and the defense was hideous in that game by the Pirates. Hideous. There were some really awful plays that Bednar was terrible, but he had help. Is my point.
And the wild thing is that Chapman had been really good right up until then. He had 1 walk in 10 or 12 outings. He got up 1 run in over a month, and he blew up in that game. But I don't know. Bednar. I mean, Bednar's one of those guys he's on the Tigers. Maybe not as many saves, but he'll be really good. And it's been all sideways. I mean, he's at 6.32, 143 right now.
That's so bad. Chapman's at 134 whip himself.
Yeah, I mean, when you walk 16% of the guys you face, that tends to happen. It's been rough.
It's amazing to see that Bednar has turned south so badly too.
His strikeout rate's down 6%, swinging strike rate's down 3%. Home runs are way up. I think it may be one of those years where he was just never right too.
Yeah, I think so.
Started slow, was hurt early, maybe pushed it, and just never. It just happened. We see what happened with relievers a lot. If you're not right a little bit, a couple blowups, and you can go sideways pretty fast.
I mean, he had a 108 whip on July 28th. Is the amazing thing.
That is pretty wild.
Yeah, so he's been especially bad lately.
He has been, and maybe they put him back in there, so maybe a couple saves in a row Chapman doesn't do it. But I just think that of those names, I'd probably go Phillips 1, Chapman 2. I was not even counting Phillips because he's mostly rostered in 15 teamers, but he's pitching really well for a really good team. If he gets 2/3 of the save ops, he's really valuable.
Yeah. Let me throw, while we're talking Pirates, let me throw something else at you here.
Yeah.
Which Pirates catcher are you most interested in for next year? Joey Bart, Henry Davis, or Andy Rodriguez?
It's weird how good Joey Bart has been.
Yeah.
I probably go Joey Bart, to be honest with you, right now, if I had to pick one of them. I don't know what's going to happen with Henry Davis. He's been really bad. He's only had a few call-ups, but man, it's been rough. He's been pretty good in AAA though. 13 homers, 8 stolen bases, had hit 307. But man, the strike, he hit 38% strikeout rate. I'm going Joey Bart.
Okay, fair enough.
How about yourself?
I probably am too, but I'm curious to see the moves. I mean, Andrew Rodriguez is a legit catcher too, and apparently he's strengthened up and all that, put on some muscle and recovering from his TJS. Henry Davis though, I mean, that's such a horrible miss for a team like the Pirates. They can't miss these premium picks. And
I guess it's not a miss yet, right? Oh, he's 2021. I thought he was 2022 pick.
Yeah,
that's a year more than I thought.
It's not a miss yet. You're right, but this is year 3.
It certainly ain't a hit yet. That's for sure.
Yeah, that's right. Brian Hayes is looking worse and worse. O'Neal Cruz, center fielder / DH. Some strange things are afoot in Pittsburgh. I'll just say that.
Yeah, does Henry Davis start in AAA next year?
Shrug. Don't know.
Yeah, right. I don't know either. I mean, everybody was drafted.
Moving back to the outfield. Who knows?
That's true. We were drafting this year, and I don't know. I think that you're right. Pittsburgh's really messy right now.
Yeah.
A couple names I want to talk about before we jump out of here. I feel like we talked about the Brewers a little bit, but I feel like Willy Adames' season is a little lost in the mix here. He's been crazy lately, so he's been really hot, which is kind of why I brought him up. But after homering today, he's now at 28 home runs, 96 RBI, hitting 255, so kind of just okay there. But he's got 15 stolen bases. That's double his career high. His career high was 8, so it's almost double his career high. 28, 96 with 15 stolen bases. Adames has been a huge score when he got drafted.
Reds fans are acutely aware of how good he's been.
Yeah, he killed them over the weekend.
Owns the Reds. Just him, and it used to be Yelich too, but
I feel like every NL Central hitter we bring up, you mentioned, owns the Reds.
There is a trend, yes. They're in real life, they're Lance, not a baseball player named Lance. In the NL Central against the Reds, they're all Lance Berkman. They're all it's just, and Berkman used to just absolutely own them too, of course.
Yeah.
Because remember at one point division rivals too, but just absolute ownership of the Reds. It's crazy.
It's funny. Michael C. noted something that always bugs me. He said he loved Adames. You only got him in one team. I hate when I do that. When I love someone, I just manage to not get him. That's the most frustrating thing for me in fantasy.
Yeah.
I'm like, oh my gosh, I nailed this guy. And unless it's a first round pick, like you can't, just only so many times you can get someone like that. But it's someone like Adames. Like if you really liked him, you can kind of figure out a way to get him. And it doesn't always work out that way. You always think it works out that way, but like you probably get a draft where I need some pitching right now and I'll get him next round. And it gets taken. It's always frustrating when you nail a guy. You don't have him as many teams as you should.
Yeah, exactly.
Last guy I want to mention before we get out of here, Spencer Arrighetti has been awesome for Houston. Like as they've really streaked and moved past the other teams in the AL West. 2.84 ERA, 58 strikeouts, 44 innings since the All-Star break. We talked about him as kind of someone that we liked some of his stuff early in the year, and he had some issues, but then he came back. He's been really, really good down the stretch here.
Plus, he's got another fun name to say, Arrighetti, and should be followed up by Vodnik, and it'd be perfect. But
there's a guy named Angels named Aldegheri right now too.
Yeah, I saw that
all
too.
Kinds of stuff. Yeah.
Look at the Astros depth chart. Who starts playoff games for them?
Framber, Verlander.
You sure?
Yes. Kikuchi, Arrighetti. Oh no, Hunter Brown's got to start. Wow, you're right.
Are you sure about Verlander?
No, I mean, if he's healthy, he's starting, right?
I mean, I guess
he's Justin Verlander,
but he's not. If his name wasn't Justin Verlander, would you choose him?
Nope. But he's Justin Verlander.
I get it. So I mean,
you're right. There's 5 guys for 4 spots, and
there's 6 guys for 4 spots.
Are you counting Blanco?
Should I not?
I'm not counting Blanco.
Okay.
I just don't think. I think the other 5 are ahead of him right now.
Yeah, I'm looking at recent game logs. You're probably right about that, actually.
Although he pitched really well against the Rays a couple starts ago.
Yeah, he's had some rough ones, though. You look at his last 30 days. Okay, so it's 5 guys for 4.
Yeah, you're right.
It's
6
not
guys.
always 4, by the way, also. Man, it's really tough to say. Sorry, Spencer. Great second half. Thank you for doing what you did. Right? And off to the bullpen with you. But
Framber's for sure.
Yeah.
Kikuchi's for sure, the way he's pitching. Hunter Brown.
Arrighetti is their best pitcher right now. That's all I'm saying.
You could also argue Hunter Brown's right there with him, too.
Mm-hmm. Good problems. Good problems.
I would say
Hunter Brown's their best pitcher right now. You're right.
But Arrighetti's been great, too. They've both been great the second half.
Yeah. Brown's definitely in. We know that.
Verlander's their 5th best pitcher right now.
He is.
You're right.
Yeah.
And he might be behind Blanco, but I'd probably put him ahead of Blanco.
No, he's not behind Blanco.
It's just funny that you asked me, and there's like the first name, the second name coming to was Verlander, and you're right. There's 4 guys better than him right now.
Yeah. And by the way, how many times did we slag maybe not slag, but the Astros trade for Kikuchi? They paid too much. And he's been great for them.
Yeah, they clearly tweaked something, and now he is a strikeout beast.
In 35 innings for the Astros, he is 3-0 with a 2.57 ERA, 0.94 WHIP, and 47 Ks in 35 innings.
Yeah, yep, I was gonna say he had 12 strikeouts this week against the playoff team in the Royals. So that's he's been hadn't given more than 3 runs in the start with them, and he his last 3 starts the Blue Jays he gave up 5, 4, and 7.
Yeah.
The Astros might be good at doing stuff.
Yeah, they might be a smart organization. Who knew?
Yeah, sadly. Well, I want to thank everybody for listening. Anything else on your mind, Jeff? Before we jump out of here?
No, my mind is spent.
You did, considering how long of a day you had. You did well.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you for that compliment.
Absolutely, appreciate that. You don't.
Considering what a waste you are right now, you did pretty well.
You were pretty tired when we started, so that's all I'm saying. You wouldn't have noticed.
Yes.
You are gone next week, correct?
Correct.
We have a very special high level guest coming in that I've booked, so we're looking forward to that. Toby Batflip Crazy will be co-hosting, so he's nice. Great. So we're looking forward to that.
Another upgrade. All right.
Did the live stream of the 5,000 entry draft with him that went like 3 hours, and it was really fun. So he's going to come back. We'll talk some baseball. We'll talk some CLQ because he's been heavily involved in that, and it's coming down to the wire. I have fallen out of the top 15 in that, unfortunately. I've got some teams that are slipping here, but we'll talk about that because we're kind of down the stretch there. We'll talk about a bunch of baseball, so that should be fun. Always love talking with Toby. It'll be a good time.
Yeah.
And other than that, I hope everybody has a really good week. We got a month left of the season, 4 weeks exactly left. So if you're going to make a move, better make it pretty quick here. It's time to do it. Every pickup is key here. Make sure you look at lineups tomorrow. There's 5 day games, so make sure you're on top of that. I know football's starting next. By the way, Jeff, next week, FAAB is the hardest FAAB week of the year for me.
Oh my God. Yeah. How are we going to be paying attention?
It's not only football games, but like it's the first week of football, right? Because you're like, I just want to watch, and you're like, you look up and it's like 4:30 after the late games end. You're like, I gotta go do FAAB really fast.
And I'll be on the road too. By the way,
that's right. So. It's the hardest FAAB week for me.
It is insane.
Yeah.
And then it's a hard football FAAB week too. But
it is. Although that football FAAB's kind of easy, but it's hard for me to sit down and do baseball FAAB because I love baseball, but that first week in NFL is just so fun that it's hard to sit down and do. I'll have to look at. I don't know who plays Sunday night next week. That might affect how much I'm paying attention.
Yeah, I'll look that up later. I know Monday night's
Bears.
Yeah,
the Monday night's
Titans.
I think it's the Bears. Yeah, it's Caleb Williams. So that'll be fun. But Monday night's Niners Jets. Although we may not be able to watch it on ESPN by the time Monday comes around. There's that problem. Yeah. Anybody with DirecTV had a bad day today if you wanted to watch USC TCU, which is a great football game today, by the way.
I heard it was good.
Really fun. Miller Moss for the SC looked really good at quarterback.
Yeah, exactly.
Even with Lincoln Riley trying to completely disaster the game in the fourth quarter, but using back-to-back timeouts on plays and for no reason, it was brutal. And then they bailed him out pretty good.
Of course.
So I want to thank everybody for listening. We appreciate everybody in the chat. We appreciate everybody that's listening on the audio version. If you could rate or review the podcast, that'd be great. Also, thanks again to DraftKings Pick 6 for the sponsorship. We'll be back at you next Sunday night. Hope everybody has a really good week and a good fantasy week, and take care.